Okay, we are on the afternoon break in the questioning of the undercover police officer, Jason Bishop, who, using the code name Red Herring, infiltrated activist groups in London between 1999 and 2005, including Reclaim the Streets, Earth First, and Disarm Dicey. He's been questioned further about his reporting. I'm joined by Pam, who, first time at the inquiry. What have you made of what you've heard from Jason Bishop this afternoon?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to be hearing somebody who was at a meeting you were at and wasn't being honest about who they were.
Sure.
But I think most importantly, I'm really proud of the impression of activists that's coming over as decent people, as friendly people, as people going out to get a message across, not to create violence on the streets. And that's been gratifying. But the lack of contrition or embarrassment about duplicity is a little bit like galling. And then actually I'm also really quite, am I naive? But I'm stunned at the number of different dirty tricks, the different levels of policing bad behaviour that we're hearing about that are not lawful.
I think that one of the big smoking guns really was about the use of disruptive and harassment tactics.
Yeah, the general harassment of activists. That phrase was used, and it wasn't problematized, and it was normal. It was to be expected. I mean, that was awful. I mean, and then the possibility of the tires let down and bolts on wheels undone.
Yeah, which I mean, taking down tires is one thing, but loosening the bolts on the wheels, I mean, that is an attempted murder essentially. And this was just this is what police do, with impounded vehicles taken from activists. I mean, particularly that document about the harassment and the disruption tactics. I mean, it was put to him to Jason Bishop that maybe this was problematic. That he was like, well, these are people trying to organise a protest, as if that was a justification for it. And it was, because the Met Police had a history of inadvertently funding Reclaim the Streets, they had to shelve that particular plan and just go for repeated stops and searches, which obviously you'd have to find some justification for. But I mean, it's very much cart before the horse when it comes to justifications.
Yeah. And where funding of was being sued for something they'd done that was unlawful.
Yeah.
So it's very clear whose fault that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. But that generalized harassment and the tactical use of surveillance and stop and search, or arresting people before a demo or an action, just so many layers of dirty and dishonest.
I think it's the lived experience of activists of the last quarter of a century. That is what happens. Preventive arrests are remarkably common, and harassment that's my lived experience of activism. Particularly the former intelligence teams, the kind of role that they took. It very much is within the context of the time, exactly what they were doing. I mean, when it was put to him that this was also a problem because one of the organisers of their targeting was undercover police officer, he just pretended not to understand the question. I mean, something which we've seen from Bishop throughout his evidence. I mean, the reason we've gone to a slightly early break is because he pretended, he was suggesting that it was frozen, the stream was frozen, he couldn't hear the questions. I mean, this is when it was getting to very pertinent questions about his knowledge of commercial covert human intelligence sources within Earth First summer gatherings, which he said he knew about. And he's like, how did you know? He went, I can't hear you. I can't hear. And I mean, I don't believe him.
Yeah. It's really horrible. It's really worrying, and it's not what you hope for. And he's getting a very respectful, sort of a gentle ride. We were talking about how much apologizing is done for the question and etc. That's sort of. It's short of letting him off the hook, but it feels like there's something in the way.
Yeah, the assistant counsel to the inquiry, Daisy Monaghan, who is putting forward the questions, is not giving him much space for any of the questions to breathe. There have been a number of times where she's asked a question, there hasn't been a forthcoming answer, and she's just simply moved on.
She has moved on. Yeah, she's gone quite quickly, or she's sort of apologized for the way she's asked the question and reframed, and I wanted a squirm and an answer sometimes.
Yeah, and feeding. I mean, literally. I mean, earlier on this morning when he was asked about his cover employment and he went quiet, she went, "You can say pirated DVDs," and he went, "Oh, pirated DVDs." I was like, "What was the point of that?"
Yeah,
weird.
Yeah, strange.
Other than that, what were your impressions of him as a witness? I mean, do you find him credible?
I don't know. I am unnerved because I knew him in meetings,
Right.
and maybe some meetings that were smaller than the ones he's talking about.
Okay.
Or I've got a slightly different recollection of them, or they're different meetings. So it's hard for me to marry up my memories with what's being said as well. And I'm grateful, you know, and there's obviously people whose privacy is being protected, so the story is sometimes a bit fogged. And I'm, you know, grateful where I can see the details and I can fill in and work with memory. But I mean, clearly, I'm also really concerned about the deceptive relationships.
Sure.
That's not an issue in this case, I don't think.
Well, I mean, it's not directly for him, but it's very clear that he had very close relationships with the undercover officers he was deployed at the same time as. And yeah, he knew them both in the field and in the back office. You know, particularly Jim Boyling, who we heard from only 2 weeks ago, says very clearly that he was not hiding the sexual relationships he was having with both Rosa, Ruth, and Monica. You know, he witnessed at least 2 of those relationships, both ends. And he claims to have no knowledge of it, not even slightly credible.
Yeah, he closes down a lot of times when it doesn't seem credible. You're right; it seems very surprising, or it's a very easy answer. There's a lot of don't knows.
A lot of don't knows. A lot of do not recalls. A lot of do not recalls. Which, I mean, it's very telling what topics those are on. Or certainly we'll have a report put in front of him, and he'll talk about things that we see in the report. But when it comes outside of information in that report, he's like, I don't recall. Just giving up just enough, but not too much. Yeah, very frustrating.
Yeah. There have been some good questions about sexism in the police and canteen culture type questions, and the answers to them were ever so neat and quick. Very, very quick. I know quick. There's more that I'd like to have asked there, and hopefully that'll come out later and on other questionings. I mean, what I think is really telling is that often he says something, and then when that's like kind of extrapolated by the Daisy Monaghan, where he goes, for example, for November the 30th, he said it was the first use of kettling, and that the kettling really prevented people from going home, and then there was disorder, which was pushing and shoving. I mean, that was the extent of the disorder. And was so this, you know, so do you accept that the kettling caused disorder? Oh no, it didn't cause it. It happened throughout the day. There'd been some disorder, and it's just rolling back what he just said. Oh, I so want to jump up and down and testify that. It's like, no, it creates distress, it creates a disruption, it creates people like me needing to pee. I mean, you know, at the minimal, it's that kind of cold, hungry, delayed, can't get to the childcare pick up you had or whatever. I mean, it's fear inducing. Of course, it raises the ante. Of course, it does. It was scary, and it was misused. I think. Well, I think all these tactics, you know, around this harassment and disruptive tactics at the same time as this bully boy tactic on protests, as well as the use of the covert officers. I mean, really, kind of, it shows the way in which that the police were determined to view protest as a form of criminality, that they were trying to intimidate off the streets, and that comes across very strongly to me. I don't know about you. Yeah. I mean, I am glad we keep hearing about how activists are wanting the message to get across, not wanting disruption. That has come over clearly. I'm glad about that. But the level of distrust about, you know, those of us with a political message and are concerned about social and environmental justice, you know, not about throwing masonry. Yeah. I mean, we had a bit about the Earth First Summer gatherings. He talks about that being really just an easy access, both for the SDS officers, but also the MPOIU officers and the covert human intelligence commercial infiltrators that existed. Hopefully we'll hear a bit more about that when we go back in. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to hear for the next session? No, I mean, that will be interesting. That is really problematic, and the profiteering from is really concerning. So that will be good, like you say. But I want to get on to I want to discuss the sexism, the lack of respect, the duplicitous relationships that also really upsets me. So it's only a short break, and we should probably head back in. Anything you'd like to add? No, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Please share and like these broadcasts. We'll be doing a long form one right at the end of the day, recapping the whole day. Thanks for now. Bye for now.